Weird history is a subject that many of us find fascinating, not only because it deals with historical unsolved mysteries, but because many of the details in these cases are completely inexplicable. This includes shocking and scary moments in history, unexplained disappearances, and sightings of seemingly paranormal events that have never been explained and likely never will be. Number 5. An unexplained historical mystery took place in Edmonton, Alberta in Canada on Saturday, the 4th of November, 1967, when an Italian immigrant known only as LR witnessed an event that hasn't been explained to this day. LR was renting a small room from a Ukrainian couple on 92nd Street. The room measured just 10 feet by 10 feet and had a small window that faced the northeast. At around 11:30 p.m., LR had just arrived home after having dinner with friends, and he was relaxing in his room while smoking a cigarette. While looking out of his window at the nearby Saskatchewan River, he noticed a brilliant red light streaking across the sky from the east and heading towards the north. At first, he thought it was merely a plane since there was an airport nearby, but he noticed that the object wasn't behaving the way a plane would. He watched as the light descended and stopped in mid-air, noticing that it was a round, globe-shaped object that suddenly started emitting an intense pulsing red light. But in the next moment, it disappeared, and in the space where it should have been, a bright blue ring of light appeared, also descending to the ground. The blue ring grew in size and eventually disappeared, only to reappear twice more before the red glowing object became visible again. By 11:45 p.m., it had hung in the air for about 10 minutes when another smaller light seemed to detach itself from the object and move towards the ground. The smaller object was silver in color, and LR described it as rotating slowly on itself. He reported hearing a low buzzing sound, similar to that of an electric transformer. It made its landing on the Riverside Municipal Golf Course, which was about a mile away, and its light went out for about 5 minutes before it ascended once more and rejoined the larger object which was still hovering above. As the two objects integrated, it emitted another red pulse before accelerating and disappearing into the sky to the north. The following day, LR investigated the landing area and found a square metal plate, copper-like in appearance, with strange writing on it. He kept the plate and eventually took it back to Italy, where he kept it as a good luck charm. It was eventually lost when his car was taken in by police during an unrelated investigation, and his bag containing the plate wasn't returned to him. Photos of the mysterious plate still exist, but no official investigation into its origins has ever been undertaken, and it will likely remain an unsolved historical mystery forever. Number 4. Margaret Clement from Melbourne, Australia, became a well-known socialite when her father, a bull caretaker, invested in a gold mine and made a sizable fortune. After her father passed away in 1890, Margaret and her sister, Jeannie, bought a mansion in South Gippsland in 1907, and it's here that a dark historical mystery played out. The mansion was a beautiful home, though it was surrounded by swamps and sat nearly 7 miles from the nearest town. For more than a decade, Margaret lived a life of luxury, traveling through Europe, visiting Buckingham Palace by invitation, and hosting lavish garden parties. But her fortunes changed when she realized that her money had been stolen by people that she trusted. She decided that the mansion would have to be sold, and this was no easy task, and soon Margaret and Jeannie were forced to watch as the mansion fell into disrepair. By the 1950s, she had moved into a small cottage on the mansion's grounds, and had to wade through waist-deep swamps to get to her nearest neighbor for supplies. She sent letters to her family begging for financial help, but to no avail, and she became known as the Lady of the Swamp. At one point, a local police officer tried to convince her to abandon the mansion and move to town, but she refused. When Jeannie passed away, Margaret stayed alone at the house eventually becoming a recluse. She ultimately sold a section of her land to a Gippsland farmer, Stanley Livingston, and his wife, Esme, who would often provide her with meals. And on the 21st of May, 1952, when the Livingstons tried to contact Margaret, they immediately knew something was wrong when they couldn't reach her. When they checked her cottage, she was missing, and only her walking stick, which she never left home without, was found inside. They contacted the police and a search was undertaken, but no sign of Margaret was ever found. And despite rumors that Livingston had ended her life, her disappearance remains a part of creepy history that seems to have no explanation. Number 3. The Gurdon Light is a creepy historical mystery that's been part of Arkansas legend since the 1930s. An eerie white-blue light that moves through the trees near a set of train tracks, right off of Interstate 30, has been a source of speculation for many decades, and locals are divided as to what's causing it. The light, which also appears orange on occasion, sways back and forth on the horizon and is often seen on darker, overcast nights. Many people believe that the light is a lantern carried by a railroad worker who fell in front of a train, causing him to lose his life. It's said that the man still walks the tracks on occasion, and that he uses the lantern to search for his missing head. Another theory, which is historically accurate, states that the Missouri Pacific Railroad foreman, named William McLean, was at loggerheads with a railroad worker called Lewis McBride. The source of the feud is said to be either because McBride had sabotaged a section of the railroad, resulting in a train derailment, or because McBride was asking for more working hours and McLean refused. A Southern Standard article from 1932 stated that McBride confessed to a sheriff that he had ended McLean's life, after McLean had accused him of causing the derailment. And so this is the more accepted theory. McBride was sentenced to death for the crime, and shortly after his execution in July of 1932, the Gurdon Light was first documented. It's said that the light is the result of McLean's lantern that he carried to work every day, and that he still haunts the tracks where his life was cut short. Some people believe that it's merely the result of passing traffic on the nearby highway, but the light has been seen since long before the highway existed. Others have theorized that it's caused by underground crystals that produce light through an electric charge known as piezoelectric effect. But this has never been proven, and the Gurdon Light remains an unsolved historical mystery. Number 2. The Bridgewater Triangle is an area in Massachusetts where many people have reported experiencing unexplained events of all kinds. It stretches over a 200 square mile area between Abingdon, Rehoboth, and Freetown, according to Lauren Coleman, a cryptozoologist and author of the book Mysterious America. One of the more well-known historical mysteries is that of the red-headed hitchhiker on Route 44. The legend holds that a man with a big red beard, wearing a flannel shirt and jeans, can on occasion be seen by the side of the road near the borders of Rehoboth and Seekonk. When motorists stop to pick him up, he enters their vehicles only to disappear into thin air moments later. There have also been reports of a ghostly apparition that haunts an area near a swamp close to Route 138. Another creepy mystery is one that plays out in the Freetown State Forest, which sits at around 131 feet above the Fall River. The site is known as an area where many people have ended their own lives, but it's also known for causing people with no such intentions to feel an inexplicable urge to jump into the water below. People have reported sightings of a creature known as a thunderbird, which is a massive pterodactyl-like bird with a wingspan of between 8 and 12 feet, flying over the triangle. Added to this, sightings of Bigfoot and a half-man, half-ape creature that dwells in the area are not uncommon. Also located in the triangle is Anawan Rock, where Chief Anawan is said to have surrendered to the colonists, bringing King Philip's War to an end. Witnesses have described seeing the spirits of angry warriors from Anawan's tribe ghost dancing in the area. The skies over the triangle are also where the first ever documented UFO was seen in 1760. Further UFO activity was reported in 1908, 1968, and in the 1970s, two of which occurred in 1976 along Route 44, and another in 1994 as reported by a Bridgewater police officer. Many paranormal investigators have studied the area, but no probable explanation for these strange events has ever been found, and the Bridgewater Triangle remains an unnerving historical mystery. Number 1. In July of 1954, Orion Williamson's mysterious disappearance was seen as one of history's shocking moments, as the incident took place in full view of witnesses, and to this day, no plausible explanation has ever been found. On that day, Williamson was relaxing with his wife and son on the porch of his farm near Selma in Alabama, while his horses grazed in a field nearby. At one point, he got up off his chair and left the porch to move the horses into a shaded area, as it was a very hot day. As he walked across the field, his wife watched as he picked a small stick up off the ground before walking on while swinging the stick back and forth through the ankle-deep grass. Two of his neighbors were passing by the far side of the field in a buggy, and they greeted him with a wave. He waved back, took one more step, and in full view of his family and neighbors, vanished before their eyes. The four witnesses believed that he must have fallen into a hole in the ground, but when they reached the spot where he disappeared, they found that there were no holes, and that most of the grass where he was last seen was also missing. They spent the next few hours trying to make sense of the strange mystery, but when Williamson still couldn't be found, they went for help. Around 300 people joined in on the search, and every inch of the field was covered dozens of times, with searchers stopping every few feet to check for holes, but with no success. Bloodhounds were eventually used in an attempt to locate Williamson, but this too failed, and no trace of the man was ever found. When geologists investigated and the field was dug up, it was found that only solid rock was present a few feet under the area where he vanished. Over the following weeks, Williamson's wife and son reported hearing his voice calling for help, and they would run out to the field to find him, but they were unable to find the source of his cries. The voice eventually grew weaker until it was just a whisper, and eventually was heard no more, fading into obscurity of weird history forever. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.